So Harry, it's an amazing day, and I'm really delighted to be here with Harry Pack, with you. Obviously you are now in the UK and I'm here in Hong Kong. Frank is here in Hong Kong. So we're on opposite sides of the world, but it feels like you're just next door.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Olivia.
Thank you. And I know that you and Frank have collaboration around your work, which I think is really interesting. And I guess maybe your ears were burning today because I did an interview with Jasmine Mansbridge, and she spoke very highly of you and how you guys have been really helping one another on this really incredible journey with art NFTs.
Yeah. So yeah, we've actually just had we hold a weekly room on Clubhouse called the NFT Fish Tank Society.
Yes.
Where we hold a space for artists to just come and open up about their work, discuss it with other artists, and just sort of check in, really. I see it as something that's quite important for artists, and is just to be connected to other artists, because you end up you open up a discussion about your work that wouldn't usually be there,
right?
And it deepens your understanding of what you're doing, and you feel more connected to it, and you enjoy making it more. And you've got a blockage, people can help unblock it for you, and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I connected really well with Jasmine straight away, and she just said something quickly, and I went to look at her Instagram and immediately fell in love with her work. And
yeah, that's really amazing.
We got talking, and she told me all about it, and yeah, I've just she's become a really good friend, actually. We speak quite a lot outside of Clubhouse, and just keep each other in the loop as to what we're doing and ideas we've got and all that sort of stuff. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, she's lovely.
Well, Harry, going on that note, it was really interesting talking to Jasmine about her art practice transitioning from the physical world to NFTs, and I know that that's something that you also experienced as an artist, and I just wanted to find out a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I've been making art all my life.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you exactly when it started. I've just always been drawing, and then I became a painter. So I did an art foundation in Bournemouth, in the south of England, and then a few years later I did a painting BA Hons degree at Winchester School of Art.
Okay.
Which is near where I live now. I live in Newbury, which is sort of halfway between England and London and Bristol, in the countryside. And I transitioned in about 2012 into mainly drawing, so using pens on paper, partly because I didn't have, I wasn't very capable of. I struggled to sort of really look after myself, and my ability to manage my life and create a space that I could fully express myself in using paints and all that sort of stuff just wasn't there at the time, and drawing seemed to be the best option. So I've been drawing like a maniac for the last probably the last 15 years, taking it more and more seriously. And I'm very, very connected to what I do. I've got a very, I really sort of pull myself out of myself through drawing, and I put a lot of my, who I am into it as well. And I hadn't even thought about the idea of going into the digital side of things. It just happened. I saw a friend online who he'd drawn a picture he'd done something in one of his pieces that I liked, and I asked him how he did it. And he said he used a program called Procreate, which he used his iPad for. And he said that he thought my work would translate quite well. And just, I think it was a week after that, I got commissioned to do a piece for a company in California. And they paid me the exact price of an iPad. And I thought, it seems like an investment. So I got it, and I started using Procreate. And I there was a bit of stopping and starting at first, because it meant leaving behind this practice that I've been doing seriously for, you know, a long time. And you do feel a connection. Things like, it sounds silly to some people, but you know, the way the pen marks the paper, and the paper texture that you've got, and the process, you know, the process of having to think 4 or 5 steps ahead and not making mistakes, because I usually try and put my stuff just straight down. I don't usually put any markings down or anything, and then suddenly I've got this new iPad computer thing where I can make mistakes. I can put an infinite supply of color, can draw straight lines without a ruler, stuff like that, you know. And then the NFTs popped up out of nowhere. Someone on Instagram just sent me a message and said, have you thought about NFTs? And, you know, it took me a few months to work out what they were. And then I've got a friend who's animated some of my pieces, who asked if I'd be interested in going 50-50 on a couple of the pieces that we'd animated. And he said he would upload me onto the NFT space. So he, you know, set me up with the MetaMask and the Coinbase, and, you know, the Twitter and all of that sort of stuff. And I've just sort of jumped in, and I didn't know what I was like, I think when he said you've got to get a Twitter account, I almost dropped out, because I'm not technologically minded. And then they said Clubhouse and blah, 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 blah. And I just thought, you know, that this isn't going to work, but you've got to give it a go, you know. Right. And then, and then I went into Clubhouse and I connected with a few other artists, and I just really enjoyed meeting people, you know, after lockdown and everything. And I've always been quite isolated anyway. And, you know, I've just been absolutely loving making contact with so many other creatives, and, you know, learning about myself as well as a result.
Brilliant.
Harry, and you know, Harry and I, we spoke so much, and you know, it has been a journey, and it's fabulous how, you know, to witness it. And, you know, we spoke, I think I heard him in the room, and I reached out to him, and I think we started chatting. And maybe I was one of the earlier collectors that started to communicate with you, right, Harry?
Yeah, that's it. I think you might have been the first, actually.
Yeah, and then we started to chat, and of course, you know, I collect pop art posters from the end 60s, and so there was an instant connection. And since then, you know, we have kept chatting and kept connecting. And and look where Harry is now. And so we spoke really at length. And I think personally, I think the ability for Harry to, you know, you're an extremely good communicator, and you open yourself up a lot. So you're very open for engagement, which is great for a collector, and also you're quite easy in sharing. And so I think that gives amazing partnership. And you know, it's just you know, I think we are just on the early steps for your next rise to a next level. And so it's really great. We talk a lot. We talk about art creation, and it has really been a blast. You know, getting to know you, Harry. And you know, I know this is just the beginning. So, and from, you know, to end it up, Olivia, you know, this is the 3rd interview, and I must say, your style of interviewing and asking questions is amazing.
Thank you.
Actually, to be honest, I'm not going to interfere much. I'm going to listen with super interest, and of course, Harry, you're one of the prides, you know, in the artist range. We have 35 artists. We are so grateful for the amazing quality of artists we have in this event, and we really think that this is going to be a changer for a lot of it, because I think one of the problem in this, that a lot of people want to start collect art, but they're missing curation. And so we are really happy to introduce amazing artists to collectors and connect them all into one micro economy. So but let me not talk any further. I will not talk any further. And yeah, I'm just super excited to hear and to listen to both of you. Thank you.
Cheers, Frank. Yeah,
Right.
Frank's been pivotal to my journey in this space. He reached out to me early on, like you said, and you know, he's been there ever since. You know, I've had tons of questions because when I came in, I had no experience whatsoever with regards to how you know, what to do when you start selling, what prices to put your pieces at, which spaces to navigate, and Frank's guided me through the whole thing. So I'll be eternally grateful for you, Frank. You know that.
That's incredible. And you know, do you think the term digital renaissance kind of encapsulates what's happened to you as much as to the industry, to you know, the art space at large in this, I'd say, crazy year, but it's actually been more than a year.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating what's happening. The digital renaissance, in the terms of, you know, this is the next big thing to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that's undeniable. I kind of sometimes I feel like a bit of a fraud talking about the digital art scene because I've only been in it for a short space of time. But I see art in general as one big thing. You know, there's a lot of people who've come into the space who've never made art before. They've started making it to make NFTs. You know, and
Right.
good for them. I think that's one of the real positives, because everybody's creative. You know,
Yeah.
you need to exercise it. It's like a muscle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a great marriage of two different worlds. You know, the finance world and the art world in a new place, which is, you know, hopefully being structured around the artist. It does seem like that most of the time.
Yeah.
There are always going to be people coming in and trying to sort of take control of what they can. It's natural, but you know, currently the whole system's been set up by creatives, whether they're collectors, curators, or creatives.
Right.
And it's still in its infancy, I think. But I mean, personally, I've seen a lot of people who make physical work come in and switch over to the digital side of things, and then, you know, people collaborating with other artists who use different dimensions. You know, 3D artists with 2D artists. Cinematographers, photographers working with painters, you know, all of this stuff. So I think in the grand scheme of things, it's a renaissance for the art world in general.
Yeah.
But for the digital art scene, it's already been profound, and there's some exciting stuff to come.
Yeah, amazing. I think you're incredibly humble, Harry, to say that you feel like a fraud. I mean, if anything, you're an artist who really is established, and you found this new kind of channel for your work, which is so exciting. And I wanted to ask you about your artistic process, because you talked about kind of getting started with your work and how it doesn't follow a specific pattern. So do you think, okay, this is the kind of style of piece I'm going to be working on now, or how does that process work for you?
So I mean, I've got a number of styles. I guess they're all one style, but they go different directions, and they're influenced by different things. I'd say the style, it depends on the influence more than the
Okay.
imagery.
Yeah,
so yeah, so I do some portraits. I do some psychedelic portraits. Sometimes I rectify. I like to think of it as rectifying. I remember reading it was an article by Dinos and Jake Chapman. They were talking about how they rectified the situation with the Goya etchings, and they'd taken that from The Shining, the film The Shining, when the butler tells him to rectify the situation.
right.
And I read about that when I was in Bournemouth on my art foundation years. It was 21, I think. And I took inspiration from that to work on other images, make them sort of trippy and doing another dimension. So I do that, and then I do my own stuff that comes from my imagination, sort of developed over years from watching MTV when I was really young, playing the Nintendo, and then I had series of mental health episodes over my life up until about 4 years ago, which got really serious. I developed psychosis, which caused a huge, lots of hallucinations. But I'd had a lot of experience, I guess, using, mind-altering plants and things like that when I was younger as well, and a lot of the influence has come from that. And Frank was saying I'm quite open about it. I am, because I think it's, as an artist, it's important to be open in order to express yourself, because hide stuff and it doesn't make sense. My art is me, therefore I need to explain what it's about. So that's what it's about. And then I do loads of stuff. I do lots of geometric designs, and lately, for the last few years, it's been an attempt at reorganizing the chaos that was in my head, and sort of trying to create serenity in an image with all sorts of things going on. So just trying to find that balance of design and color formation, and I create lots of entities and weird creatures that are jumping down wormholes, and add bits of poetry to it as well, and it's just a big journey that will probably never end, hopefully.
So would you say, Harry, your work is cathartic for you?
It's hugely therapeutic. It's kept me going. I 6 months ago, I was pushing a wheelbarrow around a building site because I'd run out of options as to what I wanted to do. I wasn't even qualified to do anything on the building site. I did bits of freelance decorating, and other than that, I'm not really qualified. I was looking at doing a psychotherapy course, but it started just after the NFT stuff started, and I took the decision to do this full time instead. Because, but it's been my therapy alongside the other therapy. So I'm in recovery. So I have daily therapy through phone calls with other people in recovery, and going to different meetings and things like that. Right. The art has it's my channel. It's the place where I just really I deepen my understanding of who I am, which is pretty it's essential for my own recovery. And then the NFT space has actually been so perfect for me, because my recovery is based on helping other people. When you come into the NFT space, there's a lot of creatives who need help, and I've done my best to learn as much as possible. And I just found that by being useful to other artists, it made my experience in the space a lot easier, because I felt more comfortable talking about my own work, and it made I made some pretty good friends quickly as well. And it's good to have a team behind you, helping each other out.
That's amazing.
And I read a lot of spiritual books, and I just enjoy spiritual stuff, and I find talking about it, and there's a lot of that goes into the work that I'm creating. The content comes from discussions, situations that I've been in, and it's a tool for deepening my understanding of my journey, basically.
That's incredible. And it sounds like that you've been through some quite dark times, but yet your work is so beautiful and life affirming. So that's something that comes across to the viewer, that there's just this infinite sense of possibility through your work. Is that a conscious, is that something that's conscious for you when you're working on a piece, or do you just kind of or does the journey just take you in any direction?
So I am conscious of it, and I'm trying to create my own world for myself. The reason I bring it, because I only watched MTV a bit when I was younger. I wasn't on there for years, but when I watched that and played video games, I remember I must have been 6. I remember sitting outside and just trying to imagine the music videos and video games I could come up with, and I always thought they would be much better than the ones that that are out there, and it sort of triggered off this thought process of constantly coming up with weird creatures doing weird stuff, you know, and the world that I'm creating has just I went through a phase of thinking that I was being contacted by these entities that were in another dimension, whether it was part of my psychosis or whether it was real, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was very real to me, and I was under the impression that these entities were quite positive and were trying to help.
That's amazing.
And were guiding me to make more art. And
yeah,
there's a few of the characters that I've released already. They are these entities, and I like to sort of, it's not really method acting, because it really has happened to me the way I thought we've understood this stuff.
Right.
But it's like they've kind of entered this reality through somewhere in my mind, and have materialized here. And you know, my part of my job is to make sure that they're good entities. You know, they don't enter this world, you know, giving out negative energy. It sounds quite hippie, wishy-washy, but it's not like that.
Not really.
It's just a case of, you know, for me, from my perspective, I've got this role that I need to fulfill, and I like doing it. I find the stuff that comes out of it very interesting to look at, and there's like a sort of mathematical equation in everything that comes out as well. You know, with the geometry and the way things expand. You know, you over the years you sort of develop. You start to recognise the different shapes, what shapes work with which other shapes, and how they might be able to sort of, you know, be located in an image with each other and all that sort of stuff, you know. So yeah, it's conscious, but sometimes a lot of it comes from somewhere else, and I don't know what's going to pop out.
So does that kind of feel like you're in a flow state when you're working? Yeah, definitely. And I mean, flow state it's funny, because I someone said to me the other day, do you know what flow state is? And I said no, and they said it's this and this, and it's like, well, artists have been talking about flow state for millennia, I'm pretty sure, but it's recently people are using the term flow state. Right.
But I think the majority of artists have an element of flow state. You know, that I might be wrong in understanding what it is, but I got quite into. I read this Kandinsky essay when I was at Winchester called "Concerning the Spiritual in Art," and he was one of the early abstract artists.
Yeah, I love his.
Yeah. He was quite a big influence as well. I really loved his colours, and then I got into Rothko and the other abstract expressionists, and you know, reading about Blavatsky and then being interested in the spiritual side of psychedelics, Aldous Huxley, and then it was a big sort of mixing pot for me. I didn't really come in consciously. It was just, I just sort of waded in and went, wow, I like this, you know, and you know, because of the spiritual side of thing, you know, when you get into it for a while, later on in your life, when you start reading about artists, when you're reading about other artists and they talk about that spiritual feeling they get when they're creating, you immediately go back to the stuff that you'd already understood, obviously. So with flow state, I think that my perception of it is the same thing that, you know, Kandinsky's talking about, and everybody else. You know, it's this thing we can't see, but lots of people seem to feel it, and it, you know, it does come and go. You know, I'm sure everyone gets that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really incredible hearing you elaborate on your practice in this way, Harry. And I guess what I'm picking up, which is really magical, is that you're not self-conscious at all in your creation and your creative process, and you're doing it for you rather than getting caught up in what you think other people might expect you to do to create good work. You know, is that something now that, you know, now that you've been catapulted, for want of a better word, into this, you know, into the public realm, on OpenSea, and, you know, you're getting recognition for your work in a way that I guess makes you a public figure. Has that changed any of, you know, any of your processes as an artist, or your thought processes at least?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I'm really happy with the way that I make art. You know, so with I have to talk about it because it's really relevant. But with recovery, the part of the process is to do a thorough house cleaning of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at all of your past, understanding your character defects,
Right.
And through making art, there's a similar process. You know, you discuss. So I did a couple of pictures, which are the beginning of a series, and I've got more coming out. And it's an attempt to looking at my childhood through certain memories that I have, but looking at it from my perspective now, using art as the tool to memorize that experience, using the concepts I know as an adult, looking through the eyes of my youthful self.
Right.
And it's for me, it's an exercise that I feel quite you know, important, because the more I know about myself, the more connected I am to my art. So the only thing that does slightly invade my practice is, I guess, sometimes collaboration can alter the way I work, because I am collaborating, but I look at it in a different light altogether. Collaboration, because it is always going to be, you know, you're working alongside someone else. You know, you've got another body involved with a different mind and a different experience. So there's always going to be that element. But I don't think that, okay, because I find people like the pieces of my art. The pieces of my art that people like the most, the ones that I least like. Weirdly, I guess, because maybe, yeah, because they don't know what is behind it as well as I do, you know, and I guess I'm looking at it from a different perspective. So, you know, when it comes to continuing to make stuff, I don't really have any control over what other people will like. I don't think. You know, if I keep doing what I'm doing and keep the story coming, then it's, you know, it's more natural. It's you know, I'm trying to turn myself inside out, you know, through my art, and just get it out, and it doesn't matter whether people like it or not. You know, the important thing is that I enjoy doing it, and that, and for me, it's important to converse with others about it and see what they get from it, because it fascinates me for no other reason, you know, and that's why I love being in Clubhouse, and you know, in this community of artists, is because I get this conversation, you know. I worked in this burger bar when I was a while ago, and I was feeling really disconnected from everyone. Right. And I remember they let me put my art in the front of the shop, and this girl walked in and was just asking questions about it, and they let me go out and talk to her. And I remember thinking, for the first time, I feel connected again. And I realized it's because I'm talking about art. It's what I love. It's what I find most interesting. And as soon as I went back into the shop, I just sort of closed in on myself again, you know. And it's like, for me, it's just something that's completely essential to who I am as a person. It's the thing that really, I see it as one of the most important things in life. I think people that haven't got it don't actually know what they're missing out on yet. Yeah, people who say they can't do it just aren't practicing it, you know. And one of my dreams is to get into the situation where I might be able to start up some form of class or program which activates people's creative abilities. Yeah, that's amazing. It's something I'd love to be able to teach, and I've been, you know, putting certain ideas together as a, with the means to do this. It started to become a reality rather than just, a dream.
Right.
And that's how I think I'd best function, and it would allow me to carry on working with what I'm doing as well.
That's really powerful, Harry. I think there is, and I speak from personal experience here, there is I was drawing and painting from childhood, and then when it became academic, I left it behind, and then I never picked it up again, and then there's this block involved. So I think a lot of people would benefit from your investment in them, and with your love of art, and the way you express that. I think it would be something really powerful.
Yeah, I think it's what I'm passionate about, and everyone people have passions, it's what I want to do, and I think I'm good at it. In the past, I'd be quite scared about saying I think I'm good at something, but I genuinely think I am, and I do it because it's a win-win situation. I'd be doing something I love that helps other people and allows me to keep making and watch other people create, and I just have no doubt about other people being capable of making art, even if they swear to you they can't. They're just not seeing past that, that barrier that pops up. And
absolutely,
everyone gets blockages.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that I'd like to bring back to the NFT space, and there's this kind of parallel universe, I guess, of artists like yourself who have these bona fide practices and who really live and breathe their art, and then there's maybe the other side, which is more the collectibles, but they coexist in this really interesting way. Have you felt that on a platform like OpenSea, have you had any interaction with the people that are acquiring your works, or is that all happening via Clubhouse and Discord and those kind of spaces?
Yeah, I try to stay in touch with people who buy my work.
Wow.
Some people have bought it and just disappeared off the surface of the earth.
Okay.
But it was one of the first things that I thought about, actually, was this new dynamic where people buy art off you and then you're in touch with them still, because it doesn't always happen. And it's really beautiful. It's really, really nice thing. Some of my collectors, I speak to them daily. I've got a Discord, which I'm still learning to use, but a few of the people on there, they're artists themselves, and I share their work too. Someone's just sent me, a guy called Gib Designer just sent me his writings. He's got, he's done some sort of creative writing about his pieces, and I started reading them last night. I do try and stay in touch. It's difficult to stay in touch with everyone.
I'm sure.
Not because I've got loads of collectors, but just because there's loads of other stuff constantly happening and growing out of all the other projects that you're working on. I say lots of projects, things like the Fish Tank Society that we have in Clubhouse is, it takes up time. I mean, I think it's, for a lot of people at the moment, it's difficult managing your time, but you adapt and you start to learn, where you need to be spending your time most, and who you can speak to, and how much time you can put into each aspect of, your journey in the space, I guess. But I love speaking to the collectors if I can, but I'm on the phone and I'm like Twitter, Instagram, Clubhouse, and then real life stuff too. It's
oh yeah, there's that
at the same time. Yeah, everybody calls you within half an hour on one day of the week, and you're like,
So the way that you're articulating this, Harry, sounds like there's this new kind of arts patronage that's sprung up around NFTs that gives you as an artist so much more connection with your collectors, and enables them to really kind of develop personal connections with you that would never have happened before, would never have really been possible unless you were in a very kind of privileged group, or you found yourself knowing the artist because of your social circles, for example.
Yeah, it's a brand new dynamic, and that's, I mean, it's huge what's happening. You know, the rest of the world will turn up soon. Hopefully there'll be some sort of, you know, hopefully, you know, the creators won't get drowned out by everybody else that turns up. What Frank said earlier about, you know, curators in the space, I think he hit a really important point there, is that is needed. You don't you can go without it. Otherwise it's dog eat dog, and there won't be any creators left, you know. And
right,
that, you know, there's a lot happening that people can't see, I think. Because no one knew each other when they came in. You've got people from all corners of the earth. All you need is a phone and an internet connection, and suddenly you're in with a chance of selling NFTs, you know. And people from all sorts of different cultures communicating with each other, sharing information, sharing stories from the places they live in, sharing their understanding of their process, sharing experiences, you know. And then the whole curator, creative, collector dynamic that wasn't there before, you know, it's completely different. I went up to Frieze Art Fair with Sarah the other day, and you know, I mean, just for me that was a brand new experience. You know, I've not been to an art fair like that, let alone with someone like Sarah who knows her stuff. You know, and I think for a lot of other people, just coming into Clubhouse is the same sort of experience. Suddenly being around artists, you know, it's the same thing. It's like a rat gaining human consciousness, maybe. You know, it's interesting, and new stuff's popping out of it, and that's why, you know, it's so important for people to come in, look for like-minded people they connect with. Don't just stick to Clubhouse, get their phone number and call them and ask them stuff, questions you don't understand, you know, all that sort of stuff, and meet up outside in real life, and, you know, develop proper relationships, and just see where it goes, you know. And I'm luckily enough in a position where this is now my job. You know, I can focus all of my attention on it. I know a lot of people can't, but I'm just trying to make the most of it, because I'm enjoying it so much, and I want to see, you know, I want to know more. You know? Yeah.
And do you think you will get to that point where you're like, right, I've nailed this, I understand this now? Or do you think, because it just seems like there's so many possibilities in terms of A, where this can go, and B, you know, with, for example, the MetaArt Club, you know, how new collectors will be introduced to your work and how they will interact with your work. I mean, already, you know, we've seen in Hong Kong, the response to your work has been really, really positive, thanks to, you know, Frank introducing you. And, you know, you're the first NFT that I bought. So, oh, wow. Yeah. Thank you. So, no, thank you. And, you know,
I need another collector.
I love the Star Ferry, and I love Hong Kong. So, you know, there are some powerful themes in your work that really resonate. So, you know, do you kind of go, where is this all going to lead, or are you just kind of going with it and just optimistic to see where this is going to take you because it brings you joy?
Yeah, a bit of both. So I've got a dream of the program that I told you about.
Yeah.
But I'd also, you know, I shut my eyes a few years ago and thought, what would my ideal life be? And the image I had was a nice little house in the countryside with a big studio attached to it, where I can, you know, set up a number of canvases and just paint, you know, and use the studio for other people, let them use it as well. Have different events there and stuff like that. And, you know, that seems like a reality now. But the main thing being that other people can use it, and that I can teach art, and the spiritual side of art, the flow state, maybe, you know, because I mean, for me, I've, like I said before, my recovery is based on helping other people, and I need to have that external fix from other people. Everything, it's like all my thoughts are internal, but when I make a connection with another human, I get that external perspective, because some of the internal stuff doesn't make sense. It's a load of crazy stuff, it's nonsense. And when I speak to someone else, they sort of sometimes set things straight, and I just see that human connection as vital for my process. I can only really speak for myself, but I think to be able to do that and actually teach other artists and just learn off each other, that's what I like. That's where I didn't expect to be making digital art, and I'm loving it. So I just don't know where that's going to go, and I don't intend to stop doing that either. I've got a plan to. I'm going to be getting a better computer, so I can start learning the 3D. The 3D. I've got a program that I want to use called ZBrush.
ZBrush.
ZBrush, by Logic. And then I've just bought. I've got myself a virtual reality headset.
Amazing.
Sculpting using that as well.
Wow.
And I've got a really big project, really big, cool idea. I don't know if anyone has thought about it yet, and I can't tell you about it now. But it involves VR, and it's just another thing that not long ago I would never have thought of doing, but it now seems really quite plausible, and it is really exciting idea, and I don't think anyone's done it yet. So these are just ideas that have all popped up within the last 5 months. So I'm happy to just keep doing this and seeing what else comes, because it comes from these conversations, being connected to people and hearing what they've been doing and hearing their ideas and chewing the fat.
Yeah, absolutely. And does it's so interesting to hear you talking about these different tech mediums for your work in a way that you're obviously very at ease with it. Do you feel in your conversations with people on these platforms that you're finding out about the tech catching up with your imagination, so you can actually realize what's in your mind, and you can actually manifest these things because the technology is moving at such a pace?
So what do you mean? So the tech will be able to read your mind?
No, not to read your mind. Sorry. I just mean, you'll be able to have the technological tools, like you're talking about sculpting with your VR set. Yeah. It'll be the programming that will enable you to envision what you actually want to do, because it's moving at such a pace now.
Yeah. It's another tool, isn't it? It's another way of creating. I think the more ways of creating there are, the more abilities we have to pull that stuff out. I've never made a picture that I've intended to. Okay, so I've gone, I'm going to make this, and then when it's finished, I've gone, there it is. It's always something different. Not always completely different, but it's never the same. And I think that's maybe similar to the flow state, in the sense that I could sort of spend an hour drawing with my pens, and then whack the VR headset on and load it onto that and do something with it, and then throw it at a photographer, and you never really know what's going to come out. But I think the more tools you have to play with, the more you open yourself up to, I guess. And I think you've got to experiment a little bit. I know some people have just made, they love cameras, so and they don't feel the need to use anything else.
Right.
And I thought that about my drawing for a while, but I've actually really enjoyed stepping away from it. But I think it's exciting, isn't it?
Massively.
And I think this space will probably catalyze other instruments being made that people can use. Because you've got techie people working together suddenly in a creative way.
Yeah.
People we've met before. Maybe my idea will get adopted by some big tech firm. And,
make it, bring that to a new level of consciousness for people as well. Yeah. I want I wanted to ask you, because you'd mentioned Jasmine Mansbridge, the Australian female artist, and how, you guys have struck up this friendship, and, you're friends in art. So, you're one of 35 artists within the MetaArt Club, and Frank has obviously spent a lot of time cultivating these, incredibly deep and meaningful friendships with the artists within the MetaArt Club. And I just wanted to know, apart from Jasmine, I think her work's really amazing, but apart from Jasmine, are there any other artists, in the community that you're really, really kind of not necessarily working with, but you love their work and you really think it speaks to you?
Yeah, there's so many. The ones that stand out are actually, funnily enough, the three that I first met. We came in, and it's not because we've met at first. It's because I genuinely love their work. I went into a clubhouse room in my first week, first thing in the morning, and there was only a handful of people in there, and this guy asked me to come and asked me if I wanted to speak, and I just sort of, I said a few things, and then I looked in the audience, and I recognised Naomi, Alice Labourel, and Savis from the previous room that I'd been in, and I said, and I knew their work because I'd had a good look at it, and I was really impressed. And I just said, and I don't know, they ended up coming and sharing their work in this little room as well. And ever since then, they've become really close. But their work is really impressive. I like them as much as I like their work, and I feel like I've kind of grown into the space with them. I like to say we're a team, but I don't want to speak for them. They might hate me. I don't know if they do, but we've sort of stayed in touch. We've made lots of phone calls, had Zoom calls, and that's been really special for me because we've sort of almost grown up together in the NFT space, but we've shared a lot of information. We've all come in at the same time, and we all do very different work as well. Naomi's a pixel artist, and she was just speaking in the NFT Fish Tank Society just this morning. Her work is it's strangely nostalgic, but it's beautiful. She creates these incredible sort of landscape images of traditional scenes from I think they're she's from Iran, I think, and yeah, her work's amazing, and then Alice creates these incredible 3D renders of otherworldly, surreal, beautiful images. She used to be a ballet dancer, then an architect, and then became an artist, and you can see all three of those things that she's done and everything else in her work.
She is actually Harry. She's in our lineup, Alice.
Yeah. So you'll be speaking
our lineup.
Yeah. So and then Savis, he's Iranian. Savis is an awesome guy. He does paint. He's a painter, but he does digital stuff too. And together it's just been a really nice foursome, I guess. Everybody's got unique stuff, and we're all pretty laid back. We all get on with each other pretty well. And yeah, there's William as well. William Kwakuamu. I've got to know him really well. He's an abstract painter, and he turned up in one of the early rooms that I was in, and I just got a really good feeling of him. He told his story how he'd been evicted because of COVID. His rent went up, and he moved to Dublin and just started painting again, and came into the space. And we held a drop party together when I did my first drop and his first drop, and we made an on cyber digital art gallery, and we met up a few times in real life. And he's a really cool guy, really cool. We have we just get on really well. Lots of laughter and lots of joking and lots of similar interests. So yeah, they're the sort of 4 people that I get on with the best, I think. And Jasmine, obviously. I could talk about these different artists, debate. I feel like I should
Amazing.
stop there in case I say loads of people get others. But
They've become kind of like your art family.
yeah,
Yeah,
which I never had. You know, it's amazing.
it's incredible. And I just wanted to ask you, you've touched on, Harry, how obviously life-changing art is for you. And you mentioned Naomi coming from Iran, and it seems like there's this incredible geographical spread of artists, and it's boundaryless at the same time, because NFTs cross boundaries, and there are artists among the MetaArt Club collection from all around the world, and it's such an incredible thing and such a powerful thing. So can you talk a bit about how you feel this is going to change once we start traveling again, and how that may influence your art practice? I mean, do you have any plans to kind of go to Iran or go anywhere once this all kind of kicks in again?
Yeah, I do. And well, one thing we're looking at doing is creating a real life NFT fish tank club, where we'll actually, and I think Jasmine's planning to come all the way over from Australia. But I'm just waiting for my passport to turn up so that I can jump on a train I'm going to go to the Netherlands, and then hopefully make my way up through Scandinavia and then back down the other side of Europe and try and visit as many artists as possible, and by train, so I can work on the go, and just add a bit more fuel and inspiration to making art as a digital artist, I think. So I'm looking forward to it. I've already got a meeting. Japheth, All Your Little Faces. I'm going to be hopefully meeting up with him first in Gouda near Rotterdam, and then I'll probably get his advice on what cool places to look at in the Netherlands, and then make my way up, and just see where the wind blows me.
Amazing. Yeah, he's one of the artists as well in the MetaArt Club.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I've forgotten. I know. I've looked at the list. I think I've looked at the list. I know some of the artists, but I wasn't sure who was involved and who wasn't. So.
Yeah, I think I'm hopefully going to be speaking to him in the next couple of days.
Oh, cool. Yeah, he's a cool guy. He does a huge amount for the community, and he held the first room that I went into as well, and he just gives up a huge amount of his time helping other people. So it's good to hear that he's involved.
Yeah, it's amazing how that sense of altruism is coming through with so many of you artists, that you're not just focusing on your own practice and growing your own practice, but you're also cultivating and helping others. And that seems like it's a departure from the physical realm of art.
Yeah, I think that must come through. Yeah, I think that must come through the fact that you're online with these people all the time.
Yeah.
That's another one of these many dynamics that's appeared. I think you'd have. I see it as unavoidable. Because if you come in purely talking about yourself, people are going to get bored of you.
Right.
And if you've got something different to say every day, it's just probably not going to work. You do need to build community. You need to be part of something where you're, being useful for others, and and helping other people when they come in. It's amazing. There's a lot of rooms where there are people who've been in the space for ages, and someone new will turn up and ask a beginner's question, and everybody will jump in and try and help them out, and message them in the back channels, and
amazing,
all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. It's almost tapping into our better selves, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I fully, exactly. The more you make yourself available for other people, the better your life will get. I think something really beautiful in that. you know, you just go less into yourself. You go less internal when you're thinking about others. And, you know, it's like inside you come up with stuff that's not real. You know, one of my friends says 50% of my head tells me lies and the other 50% believes them. So
that's brilliant.
You know, so when you wake up from a crazy dream, it's like,
yeah,
was it real? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Harry, on that really, really optimistic and high note, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a real pleasure finding out about your incredible practice, and I could go on, but I won't keep you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Olivia, and thanks, Frank. Thank you for giving me your time, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing where this project goes. I'm spending the rest of the day working on the bits that I need to come up with. So yeah, I'll probably be in touch with someone just to make sure I'm on track and not running behind.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much, Harry. It's always great to listen to you, and I know this is only the beginning. So we really look forward, and I know that you will be a great ambassador of our lounge as well, because you're so good in expressing yourself. And we want to celebrate the artist, and you're absolutely one of the foremost ones. So look forward to the next few weeks, Harry.
Thanks, Frank. Awesome.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you soon.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Olivia. Bye.
See you, Olivia.
Bye. Bye, Harry.